Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for patiently waiting with us for our next session. And I'm sure the seats will be filling up as we get going into what promises to be a really interesting chat. And I'm thrilled to be here. My name is Jane Witherspoon. I'm the Bureau Chief for the Middle East for Euronews. And what a panel we have. And today we're going to be talking about planting the sustainability seed, changing culture with education. So joining me to my left, we have Basma Al-Maiman, Regional Director for the Middle East, UNWTO, and we also have Hind El Aufi. See, I told you I'd get it right once I was on the stage, who is the Digital Leader, Middle East Practice Director for Digital Lab, EMEA. So before we get down to business, sustainability needs to be fed throughout the organization, and all staff members need to be on board with the strategies and practices in place. But how can this be implemented successfully? Well, this session will demonstrate how we can successfully manage change and encourage sustainable mindsets in your staff to ensure that all practices from start to end are sustainable. How can you embed that mindset into the change culture? And what courses are available and how can these be carried out? So they're just some of the themes that we are going to be chatting about. So I'm going to put my first question to you, Basma. And I wondered if you could share with us, how can you successfully change culture within an organization with least resistance?
Thank you. Yes, can you hear me? Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm delighted to be here back to in ATM and to speak for the second time for this audition. Well, for us in UNWTO as the leading international specialized agency for travel and tourism, the change we have witnessed and the change we are working on is complementary with the change we witness in the behavior of consumers, tourists in the industry, especially post-COVID. As an organization of multinational staff representing more than 50 countries, we definitely constantly work on improving our trends, our strategies, and through education, through training, and we work also with our member states, with the national tourism authorities, national tourism organizations, destination management organizations, on the behavior of the visitors, of the tourists, which is in line with the training we have in UNWTO and what we're trying to influence and encourage others to follow in line with the SDGs we work on.
That must bring with it its own set of challenges as this incredible umbrella organization as such. You know, how do you keep everybody on track? Because I'm assuming there are different needs depending on the different organizations. And then once they go back to the day jobs as such, you know, how do you maintain those values that you talk about?
Well, we're an organization based on values, ideals, and since both us at the organization, our member states, tourists, all of us, we live on one planet. This is how we plan, and this is how we work on sustainable tourism development. We believe on education, education, and education. So as you know, with the era of COVID, the online services, IT services changed and developed, and we did benefit from it and still are benefiting from it. We offer online courses, online training, and we have tailor-made programs depending on the culture of the destination we're working on with a member state. Again, it's not only our stakeholders, it's also us at the organization. So we complement each other.
Well, Hind, as we know, I mean, we're very familiar with the UNWTO, but if you want to give us just a few words about your background, because you come from a very different experience of the industry. Can you tell us about that? And then I'll ask you the question, because I think you'll have some very different insights.
Thank you so much. Yes, so I lead the innovation practice at GHG. So we are all about the future of energy, the future of communities, and the future of water. And we are trying to really leverage co-design, innovation, and digital to kind of accelerate sustainability and sustainable development. I'm also a strategic advisor to the UN on the Sustainable Development Goals. So that's kind of my passion around, how might we change the world from different perspectives, and collaboration is at the center of it. My answer to the question around changing behavior and mindset is really about a metaphor. I often use a metaphor or a story. I often say there are two types of problems in the world. There are what we call puzzles, and puzzles are defined by the fact that there is one definite answer to the problem. So for those types of problems, what you need is a team of people who think the same way. You put them in a room, you don't bother them, and they're going to solve the puzzle. Mysteries, as opposed to puzzles, are defined by the fact that there is no definite answer to the problem. There might be multiple answers or no answer at all. Sustainability is a mystery. It's not a puzzle. And for mysteries, so I've got a PhD in positive psychology and neuroscience. What this has shown us is really that the best way to solve mysteries is a team of people who don't think the same way, who have diverse and divergent ways of thinking about the world. You need high level of collaboration, of engagement, of participation, from youth to the CEO of the organization. And those are the best ways. So co-design, collaboration, participation, engagement, to co-design and to co-create a roadmap for change. To shift the mindset together is the best way that actually is solving mysteries. So my kind of answer is to go with it through co-design, through collaboration, through innovation, because it's not a problem that can be solved in one way, with one type of people, one type of way of thinking about the problem.
You mentioned mind shift there. Yeah. What makes for a good mind shift, in any organization?
I really, really love the concept of a triple bottom line for sustainability. So very, very long time, organizations have been driven by the bottom line. So it's profit. And the triple bottom line is about considering people, planet, and profit as a way to look at driving outcomes, at driving a different type of value. And I really, really love some organizations like Patagonia who have put the triple bottom line as at the forefront of the way they lead, the way they think about strategy, the way they think about change management. So instead of having a sustainability department that's on the side, that's all about marketing, it's really putting sustainability at the forefront of the strategy, in the performance of everyone, in the ways of thinking of everyone, in the way we measure value, the way we measure outcomes. So that mindset shift from one bottom line to a triple bottom line is, I think, one of the key components of change. In the same way, I don't know if you know the third metric of Arianna Huffington in your view. So Arianna Huffington is an inspiring leader for me, and she spoke about the third metric. She said, for a very, very long time, organizations have been driven by two metrics that were male-driven metrics. And I think when we talk about sustainability, the term of inclusion, of diversity, of women in leadership is very important. And she said those metrics were money and power. And we need to create a third metric for a more balanced world. And this metric is about empathy and wisdom and trust and balance. And we have to bring that equally as it's more important with what we have around sustainability, what we have around inequity and divisions. This third metric is kind of part of a mindset shift and part of the evolution that we need to kind of embrace in this world.
So Basma, Hind touched on there some of the internal strategies that businesses can put in place. What strategies have you seen working from your career and your experience in the work you do?
Well, at UNWTO, we align our strategies again with the SDGs. Tourism can cover all of the SDGs, the United Nations SDGs, and with the priorities of our member states. If we speak about, again, COVID and post-COVID, we have a high-level forum in UNWTO. It's the Tourism Tech Adventure Forum. And the first one we had post-COVID was here, actually, in Dubai last year in March, on the margin of Expo 2020. And with the involvement of women and the youth to give us, to be part of our solutions and the strategies we provide to our member states. Definitely, we cannot work alone. We work, the tourism industry has its own demand. It's the fastest growing socioeconomic sector. So strategies also change depending on the situation. And going back to COVID, we never thought that we would come up with new strategies and plans very soon.
Absolutely. Big shift in mindset change there. Hind, I'm going to bring you back in here because we talk about business processes, but we can't just limit sustainability to that. It also needs to be a part of culture. Can you expand on that and your thoughts on that, please?
I will share another story. So I started my career 17 years ago. I was part of a team working for the World Bank with the aim of changing the world. And I work for GHG. I hope it's still possible. And at that time, I was part of a team of PhDs working to build schools in North Africa. I'm originally from Morocco, and I love the Moroccan outlet there. Very proud.
I'm very patriotic here now.
Very patriotic. And I was part of a team based in Washington with the aim of building those schools in Morocco and North Africa. And we did everything right. We had the right strategy, we had the right processes, we had the right business case, we had the right governance gates. All the kind of consulting kind of basics were there. And we actually built those schools on time and on budget. But that was my biggest failure project ever because no kids turned up to those schools, none.
Oh, gosh.
So I learned 3 things from that, and I think they are at the core of what I do today around innovation and human-centered design. I learned 3 things, and I think those are the 3 components of having a go at culture change or cultural evolution. The first learning is that we didn't consider the end customer of those schools. The parents of the kids, who at that time in Morocco, you could basically, you could take your kid to a school, but they would not get a job. So people were not enticed to actually educate. It's changed since, but at that time it wasn't. So we didn't empathize with the parents, with the local context of the parents, the environment. We had, if I may say, a very American view of the world. Build the schools and they will come. The second lesson I learned is that we had a very linear approach. We have a plan, let's execute on the plan. We never collaborated, diverged, built a prototype school and seen like what's the situation. We just were very linear. And the third lesson was we were very fearful of the boss. So the boss, the leader, we were really scared. There was a lot of fear. So as youth, as a young graduate at that time, we could not challenge the boss. Later on, I wrote a paper, and my title was Innovation Will Come from Thinking Outside of the Boss, not the box, the boss. And I think that's a very important part of changing cultures is actually creating that trusting environment for everyone to speak up, for everyone to bring ideas, to include different perspectives, to include change. And I think that's where we start. So empathy, collaboration, and trust.
Which are great key parts of doing that.
Yeah.
But as humans, people are quite resistant to change. So, how do you, get people's heads around it?
I think the first big recommendation is attach it to the why and to the purpose. And there is a strong purpose around it that's driven by not only fear of climate change, but also possibility. The next generation is empowered to change our world. And I think the strong why is in change management, some changes are difficult. This is an exciting one. It's one where we can have a say in changing our environment for our generations to come. So the why, the purpose is very important, and creating that trust to allow anyone to share ideas and accelerate this through innovation, through ideation, through design thinking. So there are methodologies to actually help people build solutions, create roadmaps, empower them in building it. Because if you just tell them, go and change, it's not going to happen. But if you create the environment, the energy to transform, to create change, then you might have a go at it. I use another metaphor, and I know it's a very stretched metaphor this time, is the metaphor of quantum physics and energy. And I think for a very long time, the way we looked at people was very Newtonian. So Newton, he sees the world as cause and effect. I'm going to tell you to become sustainable, you will become sustainable. It's, top down. And then Einstein came to the world of physics and said, well, there is something else to explain the world. And that thing is not just cause and effect and linearity, and that thing, he called it energy. And I think we need to have the same metaphor for people and for education and for sustainability, is the metaphor of energy rather than cause and effect and say something and change will happen. It's all about creating that movement, that energy, that purpose to kind of change.
Thank you. Basma, leading on from this, I mean, what value comes from staff being advocates for sustainability away from their organizations?
Well, going back to what Ms. Hind was talking about, innovation. Innovation is something that UNWTO dedicated a lot of its efforts and work on. Through innovation, we came up with solutions with our stakeholders. We also, as UNWTO officials, have been advocating for also innovation. We've been educating our people working in the industry, also help them to preserve their jobs. Again, especially after COVID, through innovation, through we conducted many startup competitions. We even included innovation with our rural tourism development plans to balance between tourism destination cities and tourism destination villages. We maybe you heard of our Best Tourism Villages initiative, which we have
Alula.
And we recently had the ceremony in Al-Ula, and we have more than 70 best tourism villages around the world, where we work with these DMOs to balance between destinations as cities and destinations as best tourism villages through sustainable tourism development, through innovation, the use of technology. And also we created a knowledge lab in the Middle East, in Riyadh, and an observatory for jobs. And with everything that we're doing with the other regions, we as UNWTO officials, this is how we're advocating for our values and our ideals, and inviting everyone to join us in implementing
It's interesting
them.
as well, I think, how much, we talk about sustainability and say, is it just a buzzword, the latest kind of trend thing, bandwagon to jump onto? But it really is at the forefront of the more discerning traveler. I think it is in people's psyche, and they want to make sure that sustainable travel is a priority for themselves. Are you seeing that yourself firsthand?
Priority, you mean for the
for a traveler, sustainability really is, when people choose where they want to travel to, sustainability is something that is important in their decision making.
Yes, and also the concept of sustainability is also evolving because we have so many destinations rising in the industry, especially after the pandemic. You've seen that many people are traveling to rural areas where they preferred major cities before, and also part of the sustainable tourism development now is to have it's the behavior of the traveler that's changing, minimizing probably the travel and choosing longer stays in rural areas. So this is all part of the full picture of sustainable tourism development.
Hind, I'm sure you've got something to say in terms of, in people's psyche and where sustainability is as a priority for individuals.
I think the first thing I do when I work in any change or transformation project is what we call human-centered design and empathy towards the end customer. And I think there is a massive shift in people's behavior, in the importance of sustainable behaviors, sustainable practices. I think I've got two numbers to share. One is 64% of millennials won't take a job if it doesn't have sustainability or corporate social responsibility as part of the job description. And was it like 69% of travelers look at sustainability as a key driver when making decisions around their travel? So there is a very kind of, it is ingrained in consumer and users' behavior. Now it's about shifting organizations, shifting whether it's airlines or organizations that create travel, to kind of put it as part of the considerations from designing for sustainability to the approach of what is there, what are the services. So designing with innovation and sustainability as core principles, because it's important for consumers, it's important for the planet and for the outcomes of our communities, really.
So we've got these measures in place. We're all acting on it. The white elephant in the room in terms of change management, who is responsible? Who has to take ownership of this?
I really think that's one of the things. So part of the things I do is behavioral economics. And it's a field, I don't know if you know the field of behavioral economics. It's about understanding the key drivers of change and the key things that make people behave the way they behave. And I think the one of the challenges of sustainability is if it's everywhere. So nobody wants to take responsibility. It's this big trouble out there. There is no face on it. It's faceless. And people like to see like something that someone is responsible for. But the reality is that it's in all of our hands. Everybody has actually something to do about it. I'm really proud to be working in the board of governance of a new school in Dubai called Citizens. And part of the curriculum that we are co-creating is sustainability. So when you start as a kid, this is part of your curriculum. This is the way you actually think about the world. So I really think, so the elephant in the room is that it's everyone's responsibility, and people are trying to find people to blame or organizations to blame. But in reality, we all are. It's all connected. It's all that energy that we have to think about it as not linear and not this top down, but it's on all of us to make a commitment to change and for our communities, for the future generations to come.
You talked there about, enlightening and educating the next generation. When we look at establishments and organizations and the support and training that is available within them, I mean, Basma, you said the UNWTO is education, education, education. What defined plans and I guess schemes and training do you have within the organization to implement it?
The needs of our member states. We're currently also working with our member states in including education from elementary school a curriculum. Hind was talking about sustainability. We talk about tourism in general. It's important that we educate the young people and the youth on the importance of tourism as an economy, as an industry, to their well-being and for their economic growth. We're developing UNWTO academies all around the world, depending on, of course, the needs of our member states. This is how, I mean, when we talk about sustainability and the change of behavior, it's also done through education and training. So, I mean, for us, this is a priority in general, and in the Middle East region, there is a high demand on it.
What measures, and I guess you can both answer this one, what measures of success are there so we can establish, you know, just how much we are impacting the industry? Hind, you look like you've got something to say.
I was going to build on Basma's answer, and I think one thing that kind of creates a common language around sustainability, I really believe it does, is the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So there are 17 goals that are aligned to topics from healing the human to healing the planet to looking at the system as the world as one health. And that concept of one health, I think, is so important. There are 17 goals that a lot of organizations have signed up for, governments have signed up for, schools have signed up for, and it's about actually achieving those goals together and aligning a common language around that. Because I think very often when people think of sustainability, they think of the planet, but there is the communities element, healing the human, the one health as everything is connected. Equity is part of sustainability. Justice is part of sustainability. So it's really, I think, starting maybe with the UN SDGs. And what I love about them is that before they were established, it was kind of, they were targets for the developing world. So it kind of assumed that, you know, the developed world didn't need them. And the SDGs from the UN came as an answer to say, no, there are common goals across the world, whether you are a developed country or in that kind of development stage. It's about working together towards this common goal and working together in partnership. So you can see more collaboration across countries, across organizations, building it from schools to governments to private and creating that kind of sense of community around those goals and achieving them.
Basma, I'm going to ask you both this question again. It's probably be your last one. But, you know, in terms of planting the sustainability seed, if you can give one bit of advice to any organization, you know, to dip that toe into the water, you know, that first step, what would that be, your advice to them?
To start from the ground up, to start from the people, from the young, from the youth. We can't, I mean, it can't land on a parachute. I mean, we're all one team in this together. For us as a leading organization in tourism, we work with our member states. We can't be individually working. We need our stakeholders. You know, tourism is not a one-man's show. So we need to be in this together, and the impact does happen, and you can see it. You can see it with the tourism products, with the tourist behavior, with the demands also of the countries, of the organization on tourism brands, tourism products. Also, we see this in the services we're requested to provide. Nowadays, we're advertising for a high-tech competition for women in the Middle East, and there is a high demand on it, again, in line with the United Nations SDGs. We work, as I said, we're working on the educational curriculum with our member states to include tourism. I was honored to be chosen by National Geographic Learning to be one of the personalities to be taught in their English programs. and I think this will be there for a long time. So there's a lot we can say about this angle and relevant to tourism.
Fantastic. Hind, you've got 30 seconds. Give us your gems, what they can take away. How do they dip their toe into making sure they've got a sustainable future?
I'm just going to finish with a quote with the author of Walter Isaacson, and he said, innovation will come from linking beauty to engineering, humanity to technology, and poetry to processors. And I think that's the answer. It's about that innovation, that diversity of perspectives, that co-design that will actually get us to solve this mystery that is sustainability. Thank you.
Ladies, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, if you can put your hands together, please, for Hind and Basma. I hope you enjoyed our chat this afternoon and enjoy the rest of your time here at ATM. Thank you once again. Bye-bye.